The ground trembles for too long, a deep vibration rising through your feet and tightening in your chest. A dog starts howling with a sound you've never heard before, something raw, almost ancient, and then it stops, the silence returns, neighbors laugh it off, relieved. Sunday keeps trying to be Sunday. But when you look at the ocean, you feel it instantly. Something is wrong. The water is pulling away too fast, too far, revealing a part of the world that should never see the sun, and before your mind can catch up, your body already understands. The ocean didn't go away, it's coming back, and it's not coming back alone. The ground trembles before you understand what is happening. It's not a crack. It's not an impact. It's a long, low vibration rising from deep within the earth and moving through your body in a way that feels different from anything you've ever felt. A tremor that doesn't stop after a second or two. That lasts too long. That comes from far away and right beneath you at the same time, as if the entire planet is trying to settle into a new place. The walls creak. Something falls inside. A neighbor's house. A dog begins to howl with that old sound dogs seem to save for things humans haven't learned to recognize yet. And then, finally, it stops, and the silence that follows feels heavier than it should, as if the world itself is holding its breath. You are standing in the street, and around you people do what people always do after the ground stops shaking. They point at fresh cracks in the walls, laugh with that nervous relief of having made it through something unsettling. They say it lasted longer this time, that it felt different, but that it's over now, that everything is fine, that life can go back to what it was. The sun is already high. The sky is the same clear blue it always is at this hour. The market down the street has already returned to its noise. Somewhere nearby someone is cooking something that smells good, and Sunday tries to go back to being Sunday. You can't see it, and none of your senses can detect it in that moment, but something is already happening far away from you, in a place so deep beneath the water that no human has ever set foot, at a point you could never locate on a map without help. The earth didn't stop shaking because it was ending. It stopped because it had already done what it came to do, and what it left behind, invisible and silent, is already moving in your direction, too fast to be seen, too long to be felt, carrying within it a force that no comparison the human language has ever created can truly hold. On the surface of the ocean, the water is calm. Fishing boats rock gently the way they always do. Birds glide over the normal waves. There is nothing on the horizon that suggests any danger. No sign that a human eye trained in the everyday rhythm of this coast would recognize as a warning. The threat moves invisible, flat, patient, and the ocean keeps its secret with the indifference that only things that are very old and very large can have. You don't know this, no one around you knows this, and it is exactly that ignorance, that beautiful mourning, that relief that the tremor is over, that will make what comes next so absolute. You are looking at the ocean when you realize it is going away. This is not the gradual retreat of the tide. That slow and predictable movement that follows the moon and the rhythm people on this coast have known their entire lives. This is something else. The water is pulling back in a way that has no name in your world, too fast, too deliberate, as if something vast and invisible has opened beneath the ocean floor and is swallowing everything into it. Within minutes, the sea withdraws hundreds of meters, and what it leaves behind is a seabed that was never meant to be seen like this. Dark mud, coral exposed to the sun in a way that feels almost wrong, rocks covered in life that belongs to the depths and looks out of place here in the open. The boats that were anchored tilt like toys, and the pier hangs in the air, its pillars revealing everything that was meant to stay hidden beneath the water. Around you, people begin walking toward the vanished ocean, drawn to it as if it were some kind of spectacle. Children run across the exposed ground laughing, pointing at fish that flop helplessly in shrinking pools. A man with a camera walks forward without lowering it. A woman calls out a name that doesn't answer because the person is already further ahead, crouched in the mud, trying to grab a fish with their hands. You want to say something, but you don't know what, because there is still no word inside you for what your body is feeling. That urge to step back, that weight in your knees that isn't quite fear, not something you can name yet. You don't see it happening somewhere else, but you feel that somewhere far away someone has already understood what you still can't. Someone who saw the ocean pull back like this and knew it wasn't an invitation, it was a warning. But here there is no warning. Here there is only the ocean floor exposed under the Sunday sun, people moving toward it, and you standing among them, unable to name what your body already knows. And then you hear it, low at first, almost nothing. like wind that hasn't arrived yet but presses against the air before it touches your skin. A sound coming from far away that keeps growing as you listen, growing without pause, without rhythm. A deep, continuous roar that doesn't match anything you've ever heard before, and you lift your eyes toward the horizon and something has changed. The line where the sky meets the ocean is no longer a line. It darkens, thickens, becomes something solid, and it is rising, and the sound rises with it. And in that moment you understand, too late and just in time, the ocean didn't go away, it's coming back. You are running and you don't know since when your feet hit the ground in a way that doesn't feel like yours, as if they belong to someone else acting on a memory older than thought, older than language, a memory the human body has carried since before there were cities, before there were streets, before there was anything worth defending instead of abandoning. Around you everyone is running too, but not everyone, because some still look back, some still hesitate in the middle of the street with that expression of not being able to accept what their eyes are seeing, and you want to scream at them, but there is no breath, no time, nothing you can do except keep putting one foot in front of the other with whatever strength you still have left in your legs. The sound grows until there is nothing else. It is not like thunder, it is not like an explosion, it is older than both, a roar that comes from the entire width of the horizon at once and becomes physical, a vibration you feel in your chest, in your teeth, in the bones of your skull, and then the water arrives. It doesn't come like in the images you might have seen. There is no moment of wonder before the impact, no time to make a decision or say a word or think about anything except going up, up, up to anywhere above the ground. The water doesn't come alone. It brings the city with it, cars and wood and concrete and everything in its path, and it moves all of it with a speed and force that no language has ever truly been able to describe. The people who survive make it because they reached something. Higher, a roof, a hill, a tree with deep enough roots, a building that held. The ones who don't make it in time are taken by a current of darkness and debris that lasts minutes, but for those inside it has no sense of time at all. Long after the ground first shook in other parts of the coast, the water arrives the same way, in places where everything still seemed normal just moments before, without warning, without time, without choice, erasing everything in its path. And among those it takes are children in numbers no one can fully process, because they are lighter, easier to carry away, the first the current takes and the last it returns. In another part of the coast, even farther away, a train full of passengers is moving along the shoreline when the wave reaches it. There is no warning, no braking, nothing between the moment everything still seemed normal and the moment everything is gone, with more than 1,000 people inside, and it all happens in seconds while the rest of the world still has no idea what has already happened. When the water finally stops advancing and begins to recede, it takes with it everything that was not anchored deep enough into the ground, and what is left behind is a landscape that survivors will try to describe for decades without ever getting close enough. Where there was once a city, there is mud, debris, and the silence of a place that no longer has enough people left to make noise. You walk because your feet still work and because stopping feels impossible, and the smell is the smell of the ocean floor mixed with everything the ocean floor should never have touched. And you call out a name out loud and your own voice startles you because it is the only sound that exists in that moment besides the wind. The scale of what happened does not fit all at once. The numbers arrive in waves just like the water did. First you hear hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands, and each new number is too large to be processed as a number, so your mind stops processing and begins only to register, like a machine that keeps running after the person operating it is no longer there. A city of hundreds of thousands of people is in pieces. An entire country that never felt the tremor wakes up to a wave that no one warned them about. Islands that sit barely above sea level were, for a few minutes, completely underwater, and the ocean has still not stopped. The waves continue traveling beyond the horizon toward other coasts, other villages, other fishermen who, in that moment, are still living the same normal morning you were living just hours ago. Among the ruins, there are stories that no fiction could invent with this level of precision. A woman who holds onto a palm tree for hours until she is found, and who days later gives birth to a child in a world that has just permanently changed. Babies found alive clinging to floating debris in the open ocean, separated from the people who brought them into the world by a force that did not negotiate with anyone. A couple who spends weeks moving between hospitals and shelters searching for their children with the desperate persistence of those who already know the answer but cannot yet accept it. The animals, you will realize later when the accounts are gathered, felt what was coming. Elephants carrying tourists on their backs began to cry out and move toward higher ground minutes before the water arrived. Flamingos from the reserves flew inland, bats left their caves. In zoos along the coast, not a single animal dies, while outside the streets are covered in water and silence. It is as if there is a frequency the ocean uses to warn, a frequency most living bodies can detect, but one that humans, at some point in their history, lost the ability to hear. The final count will take weeks to settle, and when it does, it will be a number so large that most people will hear it and feel something that is not exactly sadness, because sadness has a human shape and this number does not. This number is an abstraction the heart refuses to carry all at once. More than 200,000 people across 14 countries, on a Sunday morning when the sky was blue and breakfast was being prepared and dogs were barking with that old sound no one yet knew how to understand. In the days that follow, the world looks at the images and cannot look away because the footage was recorded by tourists and reached screens across the planet within hours, and there is something about that closeness, about the shaky and imperfect quality of those videos, that makes it impossible to keep the distance that news usually provides. You see the faces of people who were on vacation and who, in a matter of minutes, were pushed from one world into another, and those faces look like any face, like your face, and that is why the money starts to come from everywhere, more money than any disaster had gathered before, promised by governments that usually take time, given by ordinary people who don't have much but still have more than nothing and who, in that moment, understand in a visceral way what nothing really means. But the money arrives in a place where the roads no longer exist, where hospitals have been destroyed, where rescue teams need boats to reach places that yesterday were residential neighborhoods, and the most urgent task of all, finding the dead before the heat does what the water did not, is too large for any structure that exists in the real world. Volunteer divers spend weeks on the ocean floor searching for bodies. Forensic teams from countries that had never heard of each other work side by side in improvised tents trying to give names to faces the water has made unrecognizable. Many of the more than 200,000 victims will be buried without a name, in places their families will never find, and that silence will last far longer than the water did. The city that was most devastated takes nearly a decade to rebuild, and when it does, it is different, not only in its streets and buildings, but in the people who walk through them, carrying something inside that no architect knows how to design around. Later studies show that the psychological trauma of the survivors goes far beyond anything any camera captured, that there is a kind of destruction that continues quietly after the cameras are gone, that the number of 200,000 does not include the living who remain but feel absent. And then comes what may be the only thing a disaster of this magnitude can leave behind. The decision that it cannot happen again without warning. Buoys are placed in the ocean, seismic systems are connected into networks, protocols are written, tested, rewritten, sirens are installed along the coast. And when, years later, the earth trembles again in the same place, with a force that in another time would have created the same deadly silence, the sirens sound, people run to higher ground, and the wave arrives to find empty beaches. Today, in a place where a destroyed city once stood, there is a museum built inside a shelter that can hold 1,000 people, and in the middle of a neighborhood rebuilt around it, there is a ship weighing 2,600 tons that the water carried from the coast and left 2 kilometers inland, preserved where it stopped as a permanent reminder of a force that has no human scale. Tourists climb aboard and stand on the deck, looking at the houses around them, trying to understand the distance the water traveled carrying that weight, trying to imagine the morning when all of this was ocean. You don't have to imagine it the way they do. You were there in this story, as deep inside it as any narrative can take you, and what you carry now is not just the memory of a catastrophe, but the certainty that the difference between the 200,000 who had no warning and those who survived years later with empty beaches is a decision, an investment, someone choosing to install the siren before it was needed. The only lesson the ocean left behind that can still be put into words.